All right, guys. So yesterday, Nick Fuentes was on Piers Morgan for a relatively contentious conversation about his belief system and some of the stuff that he said in the past. So I pulled out a couple of what I thought were the most interesting clips from this 2-hour conversation. The first one that I got here is Nick Fuentes essentially saying that his politics and Israel's politics have a significant amount of overlap. So let's go ahead and watch this clip, and we'll come out the other side.
SPLC, they're literally counting down the days until whites are a minority in America. So forgive me if I don't believe them when they talk about compassion. There's a genocide going on right now. It's not against the Jews.
How many Christians are there?
In Gaza, it's against
How many
whites.
Christians are there in the world? Like me.
1 point some billion,
Yeah,
2 billion.
How many Jews are there?
15 million.
Okay. So with a straight face, you're going to tell me the world is being overrun by the Jewry, by 15 million people, when there are over 1 billion Christians. There is a genocide of Christians like poor old Nick Fuentes going on at the hands of these 15 million Jews. Really?
See, this attitude is why you're losing. When you say
Who
poor
am I
old
losing to?
white people,
Who
these
am I
poor
losing
old
to?
white people.
Who am I losing to?
You're seeing it, mass migration. Oh, you're losing to me. We are losing as a civilization of mass migration. And here's the difference. In Israel, they have my politics. In Israel, they want to maintain a Jewish majority. If they had it their way, it would only be Jewish people. They're fighting like hell so the Jewish people can have as much territory, a Jewish state. They can be proudly Jewish in their own land. Whereas in America, we are being besieged by 10 million illegal immigrants in 4 years. And then whites and Christians are going to be the minority. And that's true in Canada, Australia, all the countries in Europe. So you could say there's 2 billion people, but what's the proportionality? What is the percentage of people being born that are white? Where's the arrow pointing? Where are we going to be in 50 years? In 50 years, there might be an Israel. In 50 years, there isn't going to be a white Christendom.
You don't believe.
Okay, so there's a lot going on in that. First off, he's not wrong in saying that his politics of, as he lays out in this clip here, wanting to build a sort of white Christian ethno-state here in the United States, and Israel's project, where they're building a Jewish supremacist ethno-state. These are not, too far separated ideologically. The difference, of course, being that Israel's building a Jewish ethno-state. He wants to build a white Christian ethno-state here in the United States. So he's not wrong in terms of that characterization of what Israel is. In fact, they don't even really hide this. When you listen to Israeli politicians, when you listen to American politicians talking about Israel, this is why, they won't entertain the concept of a one-state solution, is that they say, well, if we gave Palestinians full democratic and civil rights, then that would mean definitionally the destruction of Israel. And then the follow-up question to that is, well, then what is Israel? Oh, it's an ethno-state. It's a Jewish ethno-state that, as of right now, with the decades of occupation and subjugation of Palestinians, is functioning as an apartheid. And now we're seeing sort of the end stage of this settler colonial project in the genocide in Gaza and in the ongoing ethnic cleansing in the West Bank as they continue their settlement expansion there, as well as in the occupation of southern Lebanon and Syria as well, as they push towards this sort of greater Israel project. So he's not necessarily wrong in his characterization there. I think it's a pretty big self-admission in terms of what he views as, his ideal future for the United States of America, but he's not necessarily wrong on that. Now, a couple other points. Number one, I think this is part of the reason why it's so difficult, if not impossible, for more mainline conservatives, if you can call them that, guys like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and people like Laura Loomer, to combat somebody like Nick Fuentes as he continues to gobble up portions of their coalition, is because he's really just the natural extension of the political project that you guys have been building for years and years and years. This is the monster that you guys have created for yourselves. I mean, it's just like, as one example, I saw last week or a couple weeks ago, Laura Loomer is on her Twitter feed, and she's complaining, saying, well, I think we have a Nazi problem in the Republican Party, right? I think we have a white nationalist problem in the Republican Party. And it's like, you are a Nazi. The only difference being that instead of your hatred being focused against Jewish people, it's against Muslims. Ideologically, there's not much difference between a Laura Loomer and a Mark Levin and a Ben Shapiro versus a Nick Fuentes other than Israel. That's the core difference ideologically, politically, between these two different factions as there's a split developing in the Republican Party. And Nick Fuentes is basically saying, look, we have bigotry that people like Ben Shapiro are okay with against, Black Americans or Hispanics or Muslims, or against gay and trans people, or misogyny against women. You don't get to have this one exception of anti-Semitism where, oh, suddenly this is the red line that nobody can cross. He's sort of calling their bluff on that front. So there's that angle of it. Another angle of this clip is that, look, this is laying it out pretty explicitly what the difference is between a left-wing critique of Israel versus a Nick Fuentes critique of Israel, right? When I'm criticizing Israel, it's because I have a principled stance against genocide, against ethnic cleansing, against war crimes, against human rights abuses, against an apartheid structure, against ethno-states in general. I'm in favor of international law. I'm in favor of democracy. Nick Fuentes is saying, no, I actually share my ideological framework with Israel. I just have a different racial or ethnic or religious hierarchy that I'm attributing to it, right? I'm in favor of a white Christian ethno-state. Israel's in favor of a Jewish ethno-state. So, I mean, again, it's a pretty big self-report and a self-admission here in terms of, I would say, the lack of him being any sort of genuine ally in Palestinian liberation or in anti-colonial struggles. That's just not the angle that he's approaching this from. Now, to make it a little bit more explicitly clear on that front, we had Piers Morgan here asking him if Hitler is cool or if he stands by his previous statement that Hitler is a cool guy. And this is a pretty short one.
You think Hitler was very fucking cool?
Yes, I do.
One of them.
And I'm tired of pretending he's not.
Well,
to be honest.
This is the problem, you see. It's a bit like when you just say, I'm a racist. You're a racist who thinks Hitler's cool, but you're not anti-Semitic. If you're a Jewish person watching this, what are they thinking?
Okay, so I mean, again, there you go. Now, you can say he's trolling, he's joking, whatever. I don't know. There's a certain amount of points where you can say this over and over again, and it's not joking, it's not trolling. You're just pro-Hitler. Like, if that is the case, then just say it. Don't be a pussy and tap dance around it and do what he's been doing on the podcast tours and sort of trying to water down his rhetoric or what he actually believes in. If you like Hitler, if you're pro-Nazi Germany, then just say that, okay? At least wear it on your sleeve. Okay, both maybe literally and metaphorically. So again, he's pretty explicit about laying out this aspect of it. Now, the final thing before we move on that I'll say about this clip is what he said at the end there about Christian martyrdom and this alleged genocide of white people in the United States because we have lower birth rates or because we have immigration in this country. Two things on that. Number one, I really don't care what your personal religious beliefs are. Whether you are Christian or you're Jewish or you're Muslim or you're like me and you're an atheist, that's for you to practice in your own time. It's not for you to enforce on the rest of society as some sort of a grand political project. Same thing goes with race or with ethnicity. Okay, whether or not the United States is a white Christian dominant nation or it's not, has no impact on whether or not I'm going to be able to afford housing or healthcare or education or childcare, to be able to have a family in this country. It has no impact on whether or not I'm making a decent wage, right? So it's like, I don't give a fuck about what the racial or religious makeup of this country is. What I care about is, can people afford groceries? Can people, avoid going bankrupt due to medical bills or dying because they don't have health insurance, as some wealthy health insurance CEO makes off with his 6th yacht, right? Those are the kinds of things I care about. I care about, building infrastructure in this country. I care about making sure that we don't have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people sleeping out on the streets while we have, Vanguard and BlackRock gobbling up the housing stock in this country. These are some of the material things that I care about in this country. I don't give a fuck about your white Christendom that you are trying to maintain or to build in this country. That's just not relevant to the material conditions of how average working class people are doing in this country. So I'll leave that first clip at that. Now, again, we have 2 more short clips here of him just pretty much laying out explicitly his more, I guess you'd call it, extremist outlook on some of these things. This clip is him saying, I'm racist, I'm fine with being racist, and everybody else is racist too. Let's go ahead and watch this.
I'm a new generation of white person. I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry. It's racial for me. And call me racist. Oh, very Christian of you. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, it couldn't be clearer, really, unless you want to say that's another of your jokes. But you're basically saying, yeah, I'm a racist, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You're fine with saying you're a racist?
Totally. I think everybody's racist. I think everybody, if we're being honest, is racist. I think everybody, the only people that aren't racist or pretend not to be are white people to their detriment. Everybody else is racist.
But earlier in the interview, you really got aggrieved at the idea that your father was a racist. You wanted to make emphatically sure.
Yeah, because
he's not.
Because my father doesn't share my same views on that.
So he's the exception to everyone's a racist.
Well, everybody's a little bit racist. You're right. So maybe everybody. The difference is you're attacking my father. You know, he
I'm
could
not
get
attacking
fired
your
from his
father.
job.
I'm not attacking your father.
You are.
No, I'm not. I don't know your father. And to be clear, I have no knowledge about him at all.
Well, then let's leave him out of it.
Well,
Let's leave him out of it if you don't know him.
Hang on, Nick. You put that story into the public domain on your show. I'm simply reminding you of what you told everybody, millions of people, about your father. If you now want to retract it, fine. If you want to say it was a joke, which is what your position was earlier, fine. But I'm allowed to put to you things you said publicly. That's not unfair.
Yeah, so what they were talking about there is, and this was, I think, the most riled up that I saw Fuentes get in this conversation was Piers brought up a story that Nick had talked about a while ago on one of his streams where his father, said, we don't want to go to certain restaurants because we think there are going to be black people there. And so Piers posed the question, framing it as sort of, well, is your father racist? Did you grow up in a sort of racist household and that's how you ended up as who you are today? And Nick basically got pissed off at that. He said, you're attacking my dad. You're trying to get him fired from his job or whatever else the case may be. So that's sort of the context of the specifics of what they were talking about there. But again, he says, a quote, I'm fine with being racist. So he's not necessarily hiding some aspects of this. Now he says everybody's racist. I don't think he's trying to approach this with like the leftist critique of everybody's racist in this country or on institutionalized racism in this country, given his other statements about race and ethnicity and how he wants to build a white Christian ethno-state. I don't think he's approaching it from sort of a left-wing critique there of everybody's a little bit racist, but there you have it. He says, yes, I'm racist. I don't want to live around black people. He says it's, you should be, if you're a rational person in his view, if you see a black person on the street, you should run away, essentially, because they're going to commit some horrific crime against you. He says he wouldn't allow his children to get to marry or to be with a black person or somebody of a different race. So again, I mean, very explicit in his outright racism there. He's also very explicit about his outright misogyny here. Let's go ahead and watch this clip on his views on women and whether or not he himself is even attracted to women.
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So there's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here. But actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women,
I am.
all women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow.
Okay, so, I mean, listen, this guy's a year older than me. I think he's 27, never had sex before, has no prospects that are lined up, and he's complaining about the low birth rate for white Christians in this country. I mean, get to work, I guess, if that's one of your major beefs. He also goes on, I mean, again, he says women shouldn't have the right to vote. They should stay at home. He proudly says he's a misogynist. He denies that he's gay. Okay, sure, buddy. Unconfirmed at this point, but some things have floated around about that in the past. But I mean, again, pretty explicit about this. Listen, if this is the kind of thing that attracts you in terms of a political commentator, then I guess fucking go for it. I think this kind of shit is pathetic. I think it shows an incredible amount of insecurity in terms of who you are as a person and how you place yourself within society. The fact that you think women are difficult to be around, or if you struggle to get women, it's like, be a normal person. How about starting off with that, right? Work on yourself a little bit, be normal, be kind, right? And, maybe things will improve on that front for you. But there you have it, guys. That's the last major clip that I had for you. Proudly misogynist, proudly racist, says he loves Hitler, and says that Israel shares his politics. This is the one thing that I think we would agree on here, and sort of saying the quiet part out loud on that front. So I'll leave you guys off with that. Pretty wild segment, but there you have it.
Politic guy has the best politics. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me. Everyone is saying